talking to you, we're recording everything, so before I show them you, I have to show them to the camera, so the camera knows what I'm showing you. So who's in this picture? And what are you holding?
A government.
Okay, and who's this guy?
The boyfriend. Eloise.
Eloise, okay. And what are you doing in this picture?
Oh my goodness. Shooting the gun off the first level.
In the air? Mm-hmm. And then the final picture. This picture.
I'm sorry.
Just, like I said, I know, I get it. What are you doing?
I'm cleaning up the girl.
Okay. So, it was asked of us, do you think you would be able to pinpoint where you threw the gun?
Pinpoint?
Yeah, who took you out there? Did you say that? Did you gun right there? I don't want to go on a wild goose chase, so, I mean, if it's a lie, it's a lie.
No, it's not a lie. It's just, I mean, like, it's, I don't know if it's there still. Because it wasn't it, like, what it was ever taken away.
You told like right in the middle of the creek?
Yeah. I threw as hard as I could have.
You may have heard of New York's bodega staple, the chopped cheese, but I can't assume everyone knows it, so for the uninitiated, here's how it's done. It starts with a toasted Kaiser roll or long roll, cut in half and placed on a flat top or panini press with a gentle weight until the rolls are lightly browned. While the bun toasts, we can add our burger patty to the griddle. And if the patty's thick, I like to give it a little smash down so it makes good contact with the pan. And then let it brown on that first side. Once browned, flip the patty and then brown it on the other side. And while it's browning, add on top some onions and season them with salt. After a minute or two, start to chop up the patty and the onions in twin mix.
So big. We're busting out that song that only gets busted out when really big stuff happens. Big Hearted IPA, the legendary balance of Two Hearted, only bigger.
She was somebody found a sex car on phone or something. I don't know. She had something to do with in my house.
That's the worst one I've seen. I couldn't believe she was still conscious and alert with the amount of burns she had.
What did she do that was so awful that she would die torturous death like this? That's what we want to know.
I got nothing to do with nothing. That's my friend. My friend. I was never.
On March 24th, 2010, a man named Terrence sat outside his home in Pensacola, Florida, enjoying the fresh night air. By all accounts, it was a perfect spring night. That is, until a faint voice rang out from the forest surrounding his home. At first, Terrence couldn't make out what the voice was saying. And then it came again, a panicked and pained moan. It was a woman calling out for help. Terrence couldn't have had the slightest idea of the gruesome crime that had just been committed against this woman. A crime so brutal that you may have trouble believing it.
In reference to the assault, we're all seeing the fire saying that the patient, she's got significant burns over her side of her body, but she's saying that there was no vehicle involved, that people dragged her out of her house and set her on fire.
At first, through the forest shrouded in shadows, Terrence couldn't make out the woman calling for help. Moments later, when he finally could, he was horrified. A 19-year-old woman, Adriana Zimmerman, slowly stumbled toward him out of the darkness. Burns coated every inch of her skin, so severe that he couldn't make out the color of her skin or they waited for EMS to arrive. Terrence noted that Adriana smelled heavily of gasoline. and there was a severe injury on her head in addition to the burn. To find Adriana sitting on the porch with her arms outstretched. End of her burns meant that the EMT on the scene couldn't offer her much medical assistance. Even for a seasoned EMT, the sight was deeply disturbing.
She was kind of moaning. She was just in a sitting position, and the way she was looking was it hurt to move anywhere, so she was kind of in whatever position she was most comfortable. It was in a sitting with her arms stuck straight out. She was moaning, and it was hard to understand her due to her jaw. Her jaw was very deformed and stuck out. So she kept, mumbling, help me, and I told her, I'll try to help you. You just got to stay there, try not to move for me. Really with a burn victim like that, there's nothing much we can do until the EMS gets there.
And your training experience when you saw her, what was your first thought?
That's the worst one I've seen. I couldn't believe she was still conscious and alert with the amount of burn she had.
Did you feel her condition was grave?
Yes, sir.
Just from your experience and seeing what you've seen?
Yes, sir. Just from seeing that, plus the head trauma beside her, I would not have expected her to make it through the night. She kept telling me I'm about to pass out. So I told her to try to stay awake for me, and I wanted to get the info of the suspects before she passed out.
Fearing that she would never wake up if she passed out, the EMT dug for all the information that he could about what happened to her. She managed to tell him that she'd been taken from her house, tased, beaten with a crook. Without being able to give more details about the horror, she was given morphine for her pain and fell into a coma. Investigators were desperate to find the perpetrators behind such a heinous crime. It wasn't long before they inferred that wading through all the convolution and getting to the heart of the horrific incident was going to be. This is Cypress Trail Mobile Home Park, where 19-year-old Adriana had only lived for a few months before the horrific incident took place. Adriana moved to Florida with her children from her hometown of Lubbock, Texas. Her family, who lovingly nicknamed her Audie, missed her from the moment she left, loving, dedicated mother to her 2 children, and her final words before she fell into a coma confirmed this. En route to the hospital, barely clinging to life, she repeatedly asked the medical professionals to take care of her children and check on her. No one responded until finally, after incessant knocking, Heather answered. She, Darren, and Tina had been holed up inside her home the entire time. By then, the police had plenty of questions for them. Throughout the interrogations you're about to see, law enforcement is for, including a licensed professional counselor and a licensed attorney.
It's cold in here. Alright, what's up? Can you tell me what's going on? Can you tell me what's going on? Just hang tight, okay, dear? Okay.
After setting Heather in the car, the police leave her alone for another 20 minutes. She fidgets anxiously in the back seat.
And it has to be seen to be believed.
You fall.
5 times, but this time would prove to be the most ghastly, heartbreaking visit of all.
What is going on?
Okay, first of all, we're investigating a battery here with your neighbor there behind you.
Adriana?
I guess. The lady lives behind you.
Yeah.
Listen to me now. I'll ask you some questions.
Okay. I just seen Adriana earlier today.
My name is Becca Watts. I'm with the sheriff's office. We were calling out here on aggravated some type of disturbance tonight, okay, where a neighbor was critically injured, and you have been implicated, maybe having some knowledge or information, or even being involved. Okay. I have to ask you some questions, but
That's why I keep asking what's going on.
okay. Where have you been all afternoon? What have you been
I've
doing?
been here at the house. I was cooking. I see Adriana earlier today.
Who?
Adriana, my neighbor. She was down this way by my aunt's house. And I had my big house. I cooked and I laid down after that.
Is anybody in the house with you?
My husband, he was asleep.
That's your
In bed, yes.
Y'all, is just 2 of y'all live there?
Yeah.
Okay, this girl was taken from her house and beaten up.
I seen her earlier today. She told me that she had a date. That's all she told me. And I asked her who it was. She was riding a bike up and down Detroit. And I asked her when she went that way, I said, where do you keep going when you go that way? She kept saying Fowler. But she would never tell me where about. And then I know Tina, all of us know each other out here. I met her when she first moved out
Okay,
here.
how long has she been here?
It's been a couple months. So. She ain't been living out here no longer than a year.
Where did you go tonight before we got here?
Tonight,
Yeah.
I ain't go anywhere.
So you've been in your house?
I've been here and down by Tina house and by my aunt's house and back here. I was here cooking. My other aunt, my mom's sister came around here, her and the kids. And I was in there cooking fish and fries. And it's still on the stove.
Heather telling the officer that the fish is still on the stove is an attempt to prove that she's being truthful. In reality, people who are innocent often don't feel such a stark need to back their story up. In just a moment, you'll see her try to validate some people who can provide her with an alibi. Take note of just